Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Welcome. This is the Superchain Show. Happy Tuesday, everybody. And today we have a wonderful guest joining us. If you've missed kind of the run of shows of how we've been doing this, on Tuesdays, what we like to do is talk about tools, applications, and protocols that are being built on the Superchain ecosystem and just talk about compelling reasons why you should be looking at your business in Web 2 and thinking more about building and kind of migrating your services over to Web 3 protocols. And we have Grace, who is the founder or the co-founder of Unlonely with us. So welcome, Grace. So great to have you.
Thank you, Rachel. It's great to be here.
And we were just chatting offline. So your co-founder is actually also a sibling. He is your brother.
He is my brother. And I am still shocked that we get this question so frequently, but people are always like, which one of you is older? And I'm like, can you not tell from his like unhinged internet persona that he is very, very much the younger sibling, like,
oh my gosh,
total play-by-play. And I am very much the elder daughter of immigrants, feel like I need to be responsible, feel like I need to follow all the rules. But it's good. I think we are bringing each other out of our respective shells and forcing us to be in the middle.
That's so wonderful. I love to hear that. And what is your background, the two of you? Did you both come from tech? Were you in the kind of tech startup world and then just decided to collaborate? Like, what's the story?
Yeah, it's a very... it was a lot of serendipity, definitely completely unplanned. Never saw myself working with my brother. I just honestly didn't think that we would ever have an overlapping interest. So my background is that I studied liberal arts, humanities in undergrad, ended up falling into tech on the kind of strategy, operations, and business side. Was at Google in San Francisco for 5 years, spent 3 of those years at YouTube working one-on-one with creators and helping them grow their presence on the YouTube platform, and then saw all the issues with that model. And that was ultimately actually like someone told me about crypto. I thought it was a scam. I started to read more into it and was like, oh, actually, there's something really interesting here philosophically. I don't really know how the tech works, but if it really can do what it promises, then that feels like it could really solve a lot of the issues that I'm seeing in this kind of big tech platforms, centralized platforms, ad revenue models, like all of these things that we were kind of experiencing at the time for the first time. And the creator economy was just also becoming a thing. So that's how I ended up in crypto. Brian was always kind of into startups. So he had worked at a couple startups. And then I introduced him to some friends I was working with at Common Protocol, which was a DAO governance platform, my first Web3 job. And then from there, I think that was kind of like how we both ended up falling into it. And we came up with Unlonely a little while later.
So for those who don't know what Unlonely is,
Yes.
First of all, let me tell everybody that we're broadcasting on Unlonely right now. So this is, it's very meta. But tell folks exactly what it is. Give us your kind of elevator pitch and perhaps just like some comparisons to what we had in Web 2 in the creator economy versus what Unlonely is essentially empowering creators to do.
Yeah, 100%. So yes, the easiest comparison is that Unlonely is like a Web3 Twitch. So imagine video live streaming platform. Anyone can come on, create a channel, start streaming whatever they want to stream, whether that's their gaming, which obviously is very big on Twitch. But here in the crypto world, I feel like it's a lot more of, like what you're doing, podcast shows or sort of daily news shows or trivia and kind of more like interactive engagement and that sort of thing. But really anyone can come on, stream whatever they want, build their community, find their community, and like continue to grow that there. I think there is a really special experience that you get from engaging with somebody live rather than just sort of like replying to a tweet or maybe cast or following them on some kind of other social media format. So that was the origin story for Unlonely. We have been really excited about testing around and playing with other new types of on-chain behavior. So to your point about empowering creators, but also just like creating new types of experiments and experiences online. I can get more into this, but we have been piloting this dating show called Love on Leverage, and we're on season 3 of that. And that has really been a great mechanism for us to take these like new on-chain features and see if people like them. And so we've done some things where, you can bet on the outcome of a date. And, it's like a yes or no binary vote on a bonding curve. And then we had another season where people could basically pump and dump a token that's like a native Unlonely token to make things happen on the stream, like kick people off of a date or bring someone new onto a date or send them onto a real life date. So I think it's been really fun to see how people have really received that and been like, oh, it's so great to have like actually a fun space in crypto again that is, you know, mostly low stakes entertainment, but also some people have like bought vibes early on and like flipped it for $15,000. So people can actually like speculate and make money on these things. Of course, it's all very in the meme coin meta, very PvP, but it's sort of, it's a more fun experience, I think, than just sort of being like, yeah, okay, I'm going to ape into the next like Trump MAGA coin.
Let's not do that. We can have a whole show about why not to do that, but that's
yeah. Yep.
So, you know, coming from kind of big tech, right? You have seen, I mean, I'm sure you've seen a ton of development over the years, but like we saw this very hopeful moment where creators were all of a sudden being given an opportunity or presented with an opportunity to have commerce directly from social media.
Yeah.
But there was a big kind of glaring issue, and that was that we didn't own our own data, right?
Yeah.
These companies could then take our data, take our hard work, and sell our data, and you know, fund advertising through that data. And there's so many nefarious things that happen with that, as we obviously know at this point. But with what you're providing here, it's changing the conversation from creating content to serve somebody else's business model to essentially creating content, owning that content, and you making the decisions about where you put that, how you monetize that. But I think there's still the conversation about like economic levers.
Mm-hmm.
Like how do we, or how are you thinking about building and like kind of aligning with economic levers that do really reward creators? Because I see some things happening with you in the back channels on that, and I'm excited to see what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean, candidly, that's definitely something we're still figuring out. We have been building Unlonely now for probably, I mean, I've been full-time for nearly a year, and we've had the product out for a little longer than that. But we are still figuring out what is going to get us to PMF. Like that's definitely still part of the goal. The economic alignment, I think the clearest thing about this is just like comparing it directly to the existing kind of YouTube, Twitch, Instagram models and seeing that they take 45 to 55% of any of your ad revenue cuts, which is just like off the bat, you know, more than half of your income disappears. And like, I think a lot of maybe people are sort of starting to understand this more because creators are becoming more and more transparent. But I think for a long time, people were like, oh, you know, these videos are getting millions of views. They must be making so much money off of this. And they're really not. It's like you might make a couple grand off of ad revenue from like a hugely viral video, depending on where it went viral, what your audience demographic is, how like much the CPM costs in those markets, what kind of content was it? Was it kind of like slightly edgy? Therefore, it didn't get the same types of advertisers that are willing to pay the big bucks. Did it get like shadow banned, or did you have like a copyright policy on it for some reason? And just like such a tangled web of policies and then shadow banning and conspiracies and what does the algorithm actually care about and clickbait. Like there literally are so many things that are flying through creators' minds at any time that it really makes it very hard for them to have a sustainable business on the platform. Mm-hmm. And that's what I found working with these creators that had built audiences of millions of subscribers over a decade plus of their life. And just that they were feeling really frustrated and highly anxious that it could all just be literally rugged like at any point in time. And this would happen, right? Like I would work with creators where for whatever reason they made one misstep that they didn't realize was a misstep maybe, and their channel could disappear. And that was that. There was no way for you to get it back, and people would be like desperately trying to tweet about it. And if you were big enough and you had a big enough audience, then you could kind of like force YouTube's hand, or, you know, force the platform's hand into doing something, because that's a bad PR crisis for them. But otherwise, like if you're any of the hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of smaller creators that don't have that kind of leverage, you're, excuse my French, shit out of luck. Like whatever you built there is just gone. Totally. So yeah, that was something that I felt really like was just a really clear part of that experience, that creators were so frustrated and felt so powerless that they started treating it as just like okay, I have to do what I have to do to try to build an audience here. But once I have any semblance of audience, I need to diversify immediately. Like I need to be on every single platform in case like I get pulled off of this one, then I need to have built enough of an audience on this one. Ideally, I also launch my own brand, or like launch like merch lines or something, or have some sort of diversified passive income stream that in the event, like sort of planning ahead for that happening, that I won't like not be able to pay rent and won't have a place to live anymore or something like that. So it is really interesting because you feel like the creators should have so much more power, because they are literally, like we would say,
creating the content. Yeah.
Like creators are the lifeblood of our platform. We would be nothing without these creators, but they don't feel that way. They didn't get treated that way. And so I am really hopeful that these like new decentralized on-chain options will be able to do a better job of that.
So let's talk through kind of process. So if somebody is watching this and they're like, okay, I'm a content creator, I'm creating content across all the usual haunts of social media, like how would they get started with Unlonely? And do you want to screen share anything, or no pressure? We don't have to, but
I will. So I will say it's super easy. You don't have to understand anything about crypto to create a channel, to start streaming. The whole back end of the process is actually very Web 2. And I think you as a creator can probably speak to this. So kind of from the very start, if you just go to the app, unlonely.app, on kind of browser or mobile, you can click create a channel. If you don't have a wallet, which, is our sort of means of accessing decentralized apps, we are integrated with Privy. So you can create a channel, or you can create a wallet with just your email, put in the code, and then that will kind of take you to the creator dashboard, where you can then set up whatever your stream is. And we now also so we're built on top of LivePeer, and LivePeer has just created a feature where you can sort of just like start streaming directly from your browser. It's kind of like browser broadcasting. And so if you're not doing anything super fancy, like I think you have more of a high production show where you've got guests on and
I'm flattered that you say that, because it's kind of a mess, but
no, not at all. I mean, you've got the background logo, the neon logo, it all looks very professional. It's got
thanks. We'll take that. We'll take it. But carry on, sorry.
Yeah, but I think for anyone who just wants to like start talking to people and start like building that connection with their community, you don't have to download anything. You don't have to set up anything. You just like let people know that you're live somewhere, and then people can show up and just talk to you in the chat, or you could even bring them on to the show as well. Like, so Brian started off being our like only creator, only streamer on the platform for the first, I think, 6 months of Unlonely's existence. And he was basically daily streaming. And sometimes it would be like 2 or 3 people showing up, and he'd be like, well, okay, here, I'm going to send you like a Zoom link and you can just join in. Let's just talk, and we'll talk on the stream. And then eventually that grew, and he has built a community of people. He's got a little bit of a diehard fan base, I think, maybe small but mighty, that really appreciate his sort of like guns a-blazing approach to certain topics. And that's it. I think from there are like a lot of things that you can layer on to the experience, be that the tokenized mechanisms, be that VIP chat, the NFCs, which are non-fungible clips, which is kind of our branding of like a highlight clip that you can mint and then share with people from the streams. So there are plenty of things that you can do on top of that, but I think like getting started is super easy.
Yeah. Talk to us about some of those other services. Is it going to be really weird if I screen share while we're streaming? Why don't we try it just so people? I just like to give people a visual of what we're talking about, and I'm hoping we can do that without it like being super meta. How does that look? Okay.
That looks good. Okay, yeah. I don't.
Okay. We're not showing any wallet addresses or anything. We're good.
No. It's not like when Brian, published his private. He's in a public GitHub.
Brian, that's right. Didn't he lose like a significant amount of crypto?
Yeah.
Oh, it was awful.
It happens. I think some people need stronger learning experiences than others.
Yep. It's frightening.
I don't want to be that like annoying older sister, but I was like, Brian, move your money off of your MetaMask. Like I've been telling you to take it out of MetaMask for weeks, and it happens. Yeah. So in any case, no, this looks fine. I think, if your stream key was showing right now, then somebody theoretically could take that and then hack into your stream and then, take over your channel or something like that. But
yes. So don't do that.
But well, it's hidden anyway.
So what we're looking at right now is essentially like the kind of the green room, the back end of Unlonely. And as Grace said, it's super, super easy to set up, very Web 2 in terms of the setup. You're not doing anything crazy that you're not probably already doing with Wallet Connects.
Yep.
Set up a channel. And then this is kind of like, just talk us through what we have going on here.
Yeah, so this is kind of what we call, the streamer dashboard. There are a lot of things hidden into here, and we made a tour, which I don't know how many people have used, but if you click that little question mark button in the chat, in the kind of bottom chat section on the bottom right. I don't know if that will show
up. In the chat, bottom,
yes,
this guy.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So that kind of tells you, it can guide you through the steps of like what, if you want to use in-browser streaming, so skip these because we're already streaming. And then if you don't want to stream directly from Unlonely, you can use a third-party software. You're using StreamYard, so that's exactly what you've done. You've then popped the stream key and the RTMP ingest directly into StreamYard. You can edit your title and description. So actually, that's something that you could do right now if you wanted. You've got your kind of default Good News Shows Unlonely channel title, but with the description, it could be updated if today you wanted to say, hey, we're talking to Grace, co-founder of Unlonely, at 11 a.m. EST, then that's a way to kind of share some more information with people that might be coming to your channel when you're not streaming and give them that context. You're very familiar with this. You can add streams to our Luma calendar. So the Luma/Unlonely is the place where you can see kind of all the upcoming streams and people can RSVP. They can discover new channels and all of that. So I think that's what we've got in terms of like the basic setup. Then we have on the top right, launch tokens, which actually, I don't know if you've ever tried the token.
No.
Yeah, these are two things that we launched fairly recently, and we've kind of built the new dating show around the Versus token in particular. But these are native Unlonely tokens. They're just ERC20 tokens on a bonding curve. We launched them for you. So if you wanted to like launch a 30-minute token, it's these like temporary tokens that are kind of gamified experiences. So if you were to create one, you could name it. It would, the smart contract would be created for it. It'd be launched on the blockchain. It would be tradable immediately. And anyone who was watching on Unlonely could buy and sell that token within that time frame.
What? This is
wild. Yeah.
Why does this make me have a small panic attack?
It is a little, people get a little freaked out about it. I think there's a very certain audience demographic that lives for this, is maybe more on the degen side. And then there are some people who are like, oh, okay.
I'm just like, this is tied to the Good News wallet and SEC. What now? Like, reassure us, Grace.
Yes. Well, it is a hazy regulatory space. But
hazy, polite, but yes.
Like, it's,
There we go. Sorry, Siri's trying to talk to us as well. Maybe it's the SEC listening in. Here we go.
Yeah, exactly. It's Gary Gensler trying to butt into the conversation.
Get out, Gary. Oh my gosh. So this is crazy, though. But go ahead, please tell us more.
Well, these are not securities. They are, they're gamified, kind of like in-app tokens almost. They are ERC20s, so like technically someone could take this, put it on Dex Screener or something, pump some liquidity into it if they really wanted to, but generally they live completely on Unlonely. Like that hasn't happened to date. We're, anyone is allowed to do whatever, they're free to choose what they want to do with the token, but we've created it and designed it to be something for people to interact with on Unlonely and a revenue model for creators. So there are 5% transaction fees on every transaction that happens for any token that you launch on your channel. And so people that are coming to your channel and interacting with that, they're contributing to you and your channel's success. The tokens have sort of two current use cases. This temp token, basically, you can like choose a timeline. And so if you launch it for 30 minutes, you have 30 minutes to hit a certain price target. And then if you hit that price target, you get 24 hours added onto the clock and the token lives for another 24 hours. So that's the kind of like game experience that we've designed around that. The Versus token is much easier to understand. And if you've seen any of the recent, so we have a new episode dropping actually of Love on Leverage tonight, 6 p.m. EST, that uses the Versus token. And you can basically create competing tokens that get launched at the same time. And the way that we've used this in the current dating show is that we have one bachelorette in the episode and two competing bachelor contestants. Each one of the men gets a different token launched for them. And then people who are watching can basically pump or dump each one of those tokens independently. And then whoever has the higher price token at any given point gets to speak. And the other one is muted on the date. So it's kind of this like interactive, competitive element, also very chaotic and entertaining. That's kind of what we'd like to go for. We like to make really fun experiences that are a little bit unhinged, a little bit out there, but like all in kind of good fun, and use fun Unchained features to enable that. Bless you.
Thank you. Sneezing on the truth. Oh my goodness. Well, I am all for the fun aspect. I think that that's how we attract people, right? We build fun experiences for people to actually come and want to participate in this ecosystem. I don't think DeFi, blockchain, kind of old school ways of teaching this is a good attraction model. But
it's not the mass adopter mechanism.
It is not.
Maybe a dating show is, because people love a reality dating show.
They do love that shit. They do. But let's talk about discovery, because I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we've had in Web3 period, right? Just like, we have the mechanisms, we have the rails, we have all of the stuff that enables us to create assets and trade tokens, but discovery's been kind of a challenge. Yeah. Like, how are you looking at discovery in terms of like making sure that these channels, these programmings, all of this stuff is actually seen by people?
Yeah. Well, I think you're doing it right now. We are not we don't sort of guide creators to be like, you have to stream exclusively on Unlonely, and that's the best way to do it. We think it makes sense for you to leverage your audiences across any other platform that you might have already worked hard to build a community around. And so if the easiest place for somebody to watch you or to communicate with you is on Twitter or is on YouTube or on wherever else you might be multi-streaming to, then we think that is like a great discovery mechanism. And then we really just try to make Unlonely a special and differentiated experience so that people might be watching on Twitter, but they're like, oh my God, I have so much FOMO about not being in this chat and not having my ENS pop up and not having my, community Farcaster badges or Lens badges and not being able to buy into this, ape into this Versus token because I want to be able to pump this guy because this one's super boring right now and I want to flip the token. There's so many more things that you can do and engage with on Unlonely that you really can't on any of the other platforms. And the other thing we've seen too is just that the quality of the engagement is so much higher. The chat room is usually very lively and sort of wholesome in a way. It really does feel like that. We have our little tagline, your cozy space on the internet, and it feels much cozier than even if you watched the identical stream on YouTube. And I've looked at this just to kind of compare and contrast, and it just feels spammy on YouTube. The people are kind of in there being like, airdrop, and it's right. Just not really a conversation that you're trying to have with people watching on YouTube. Whereas on Unlonely, it really feels like you can have a one-on-one conversation with the people that are in the chat. You could also even filter it down to your VIP token holders, which if you click over into that second tab on the right of the chat, then it only shows people that have VIP there. Exactly. And so people can literally just buy this token and then have access to kind of a gated chat, which the other general chat cannot see. So those are sort of the ways that we're thinking about that. I think discoverability is super hard, and we're trying to get this more embedded into Web3 native platforms as well. It would be great if we could multi-stream to Farcaster. We've been bugging Dan and Varun to try to build this capability for a little while, but we'll see when we get there. And in the meantime, we're happy to leverage the existing platforms.
I mean, what about having this as kind of integrated into people's websites? I could see this, for example, with us, we're building Good News and it's token gated. And so having that kind of natively in the website as soon as you connect your wallet would be really cool.
Yeah. That is actually very prescient of you, because we have just pushed a feature that is going to do that. So we're looking at creating kind of embeddable iframes of the Unlonely live stream into your own website. Because I think we've heard from a lot of different partners that want to be able to do this, where they're it just makes sense for the context of the stream, for it to live within the site, but then we would still love for that stream experience to be there, and maybe some of the like special Unlonely UX. We want all of that to be able to show up, and we want to ultimately be able to drive people like back to discovering more channels on Unlonely and like kind of like getting deeper into that content experience too.
So to that point, like discovering more channels, like where are people doing that? Like if we're looking at kind of, this is like the back end right now, like where would people go to discover what's happening on the channels?
Yeah, it's a great question. So if you click on the home page, if you just click on like kind of the Unlonely logo at the top, it'll always show you which streams are live right now. So you kind of have that situation, and you can kind of click into any of these. So yeah, we've got Kristen's channel up there. We've got Bogey's, we've got Pitzelnung. Those are kind of like, and you can, I think, scroll to the right maybe. Then you can see the Luma calendar is kind of integrated there. So you can see that right now. There's yours. There's also the Beavis and Butthead show. They are on their season 2. They really bought into the bit. Then we've got our Love on Leverage episode coming up later tonight. So this is another way. This is, here scrolling through channels is kind of like everyone that's created a channel. And I think we've got just over 1,000 channels that have been created so far.
Wow.
And then the non-fungible clips are a way to kind of catch up maybe on the highlight moments of certain channels or streams that you may have missed in the past.
And then obviously you have this token leaderboard here as well, which is very fun. So you've got my wheels are spinning now thinking about a good news token for something. I think we should try and have some fun with that. And maybe even we'll try it next week and try and bring some folks over from other streaming sources and get them here on Unlonely. So we'll do some back channel chat about that and how that might look.
That would be super fun.
So I guess what is kind of your thoughts in like the next 12 months, 5 years? Like what are your long-term visions for Unlonely?
The long-term vision is to take over streaming and content from the existing entrenched Web2 platforms. So it's a big goal, and I think it's going to take a lot of work, not just from us, but also from the whole industry, and getting that kind of crypto's killer app that then actually is the one that is bringing people on. I think that's a little bit, it's kind of TBD. It's hard to predict, but I do feel really bought into what people are building here and the energy here. And, despite the ups and downs, like we started building Unlonely deep in the bear market, like the kind of 2022, 2023 bear market. And no one cared about a consumer app. Like no one wanted to invest in anything consumer facing. So like as difficult as that time was, I'm actually really grateful that we started off in that period, because I think it gave us the right mindset. It didn't set our expectations to be like, we're going to waltz in and raise $25 million off of like zero product, zero team, like just a crazy idea. So I think like that was actually a blessing in disguise. And it's really shown us who the committed builders are, like who the people are that are really going to like try to see this industry through. And much as I get shit for like being in this space sometimes, or, I roll my eyes at the MAGA coins and all the kind of things that are happening that are a little crazy, and they kind of get all the clickbaity article titles and things like that. I still feel really great about like the people that I encounter on a day-to-day here. So that's what I'm betting on. And let's hope we can see it all happen in the near future.
Well, thank you for what you've built, because we're excited to be using it. And I think it's a great opportunity for creators. And I think anybody that's watching this that creates video content should really be taking a look at this. This is the future, and we want to be able to own our content. We want to be able to leverage our content. We want to build, like Grace said, like these cozy corners for our communities. And so, you guys are leading the charge in that, and we appreciate you coming by. I think we're going to have you back to talk us through this token when we're ready to do it.
Yes.
But any call to action, any final thoughts you want to leave folks with?
Exactly what you said. If you're a streamer that's already doing this on other platforms, super easy to just create an Unlonely channel and then add it to your multi-stream if you don't want to leave your other platforms. If you've never streamed before, also super easy to set it up and just like start and like see where it could go. And then I would say definitely tune in tonight, 6 p.m. for a new episode of Love on Leverage. I think it's going to be a fun time. And it's always a great way for people to kind of get a live demo of what the token interactions could really look like.
Amazing. And we're going to drop some links underneath these videos so you can actually go check that out, folks. But Grace, thank you. This was fun. Appreciate you. And folks, go check out Unlonely. And this has been the Superchain version of the Good News Show. And we're going to be back again tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern. Our special guest is Jordan Lyle, so he'll be joining us. But thanks so much, Grace. We appreciate you.
Thanks, Rachel. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.